Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone. We are live with our Fright Club book club, and our pick for hello. And our pick for what was it last month or the month before? It's been a while. Was Kingfisher's The Twisted Ones, and I've got with me my host is Kris from Secret Reads, and our special, awesome, special guest host, which is Kelly from Kelly Hooked on Books. So how are you both doing? How are you, Kelly?
Oh, hi. Sorry, you cut out, and I can you cut out. Christine cuts out. Like, I don't know. I'm doing well. I'm thankful you guys were able to reschedule for me.
And then reschedule for me too.
No problem at all.
I cheated and did read a summary, because even if I just read the book yesterday, I probably would have still forgotten things.
So this actually might be a fairly quick review. It's not exactly fresh in our minds, is it?
Well, it's been a bit, but I like I said, the summary helped refresh my memory.
Okay. Well, talking about the summary, let's just go into. Okay, I've got banners, people. they're very broad, so they're not very kind of detailed, but they're just banners. Okay. So I've got premise. So let's talk about the basic premise of the book. What is the book about? Does anyone want to start?
What are you asking? Oh.
Kelly?
So our main character, her name, I believe, was Mouse, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember what her formal name, but that was the nickname. She goes back to her grandmother's house that were in the middle of nowhere. I don't remember her relationship with the dad.
Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably some backwoods, far from everything situation. Dad can't go down to clean out grandma's house, who has passed away. Does she have a relationship with the grandma? I don't remember.
Not since she was 7, I think.
She's been dead.
Okay, so she had met her.
She's frozen on us again. She's what?
I don't know. I just missed what you said. Sorry.
I think what happened was that when her mom died, she went to her grandma's house when she was 7, and her grandma was supposed to look after her while her dad did a bunch of stuff, maybe for the funeral. And she had such a bad experience with her grandmother that I don't think she ever went back after that.
Yeah, no, grandma's a horrible person, and no one likes grandma. So it's like this little village. I think it's in Alabama. You're right. It's like the backwoods. And she's basically got to clear out the grandma's house.
Something like that, I think.
And grandma is a big hoarder, big time hoarder. And she finds things at the house that are very unpleasant. She finds things from, is it her father? No, her uncle's journal or something. Some very weird thing about things in the wood or twisted things, whatever. Just some scribblings in a diary. And so it goes from there. I think that's maybe the general premise.
Yep.
Anything to add there?
Just starts off like a haunted house story, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, let's just quickly look here. Comments. Okay. So we got Stuart. Hi all. Hi Stuart. And I love this name. My best friend is a dingo. From Southwest Georgia. I absolutely love that.
And the picture.
And that?
The picture for dingo.
The picture, I can't see it. It's a picture of a dingo. And then we got creativity therapy. That's Matt. Hey, Matt.
Matt.
Woohoo! Hello, everyone. Hope you're all well. And then we got, guess who? My biggest fan, Nita Murray. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Nita.
And then creative therapy. Okay. Let's get back to the second banner. Okay, we've got premise. Okay, let's just go overall thoughts. Get my initial thoughts. Just stars. How many stars would you give it? Who am I going to start with? Going to go clockwise, anti-clockwise?
I'm not sure what order we are on your screen. Let's start with Kelly, since she's our guest. We'll start with Kelly.
Yeah.
Sure. I gave it 3. I initially was sucked right in to the story, but I do feel like it got kind of repetitive at times. I feel like I wish we had known a little bit more about why everybody hated the grandma so much. Because from what I'm remembering, like the statement was out there, was she just an a-hole that people just didn't like because she was crotchety, or was there more reason to it? I don't know.
Yeah,
but I gave it 3 stars.
Yeah, 3 stars.
That's what I gave it. Yes.
Christine?
I feel very much like Kelly, like pretty much everything she said. I maybe in between a 3 to a 3.5. I like the writing. I liked the humor, and I was like Kelly, where it sucked me in right away, because I'm like, oh yeah, she's sassy. She's kind of sarcastic. I like that tone because it just felt like I could connect to the character right away. And she had a dog that she loved. So I was very much into it. And then we'll talk a little bit later why, like, there was a point where it started to go very slow for me. And I kind of got sucked out of the story. But I think overall, I would say 3 to 3.5. Obviously, if we're just doing full stars, I would just say 3.
Yeah. And before I give my verdict, for everyone that's in the chat, we'd like to hear what you think of how many stars you gave this book. Because that has very, very, and I even saw in the Discord, I think people had very varying opinions of how they felt about this book. And I've got to be honest, I enjoyed it. I would have given it 3.5 stars if I was allowed to. And I felt very icky about. Sorry, I know Storygraph you can do a rating out of 10. So I would have given it
for Goodreads. Okay.
Yeah, for Goodreads you've got to give it 3 or 4.
I was going to say we'll allow you, Cliff.
Yeah, I was very generous. I rounded it up to 4. Perhaps I was too generous, but there were parts of the book that I really enjoyed, and it was different. And like you said, it actually reads very easily. And I love the protagonist and the first person narration. And she's just a wonderful character, and with this humor, and it drew me in. It not really seriously horrifying book that I usually read, but I found myself enjoying it. But there were times in the novel where I was thrown out of the narrative. We can talk about that later. And I also found the ending. I've actually got it on one of my little things there. The kind of transition between the real world, I mean, it's a folk horror, to this other world, with its creatures. And that part of the story just dragged. And but it was creepy. And I found it enjoyable enough to give it 4 stars.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, let's see how many people agree with me. Maybe people think I'm talking absolute rubbish here. Terrible story. Okay. My best friend is a dingo. I gave it 4 stars. I loved it. Until it got to the end where Foxy and Mouse went into the weird world. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about, where it's almost like this transition. And normally I like that kind of weirdness, like a kind of Lovecraftian thing. But in this case, it just did not work for me. It did not work for me at all. Yeah. Okay. I would give it 4.5. I had some minor quibbles. But I love Mouse and Bongo. Yeah, they were awesome. Going to talk about that just now. Oh, we've lost her.
Ellie.
We lost her. Okay, but she'll come back.
Probably just her connection. She was a little bit delayed, I think, and everything. So
Yeah. Not, you got to understand that people have families. Sometimes it's very busy.
yeah, no, I think just her connection was a little bit delayed.
Okay. So what do we have? 4 and 4. And I love Bongo. Bongo is awesome. Okay. Hey, Constance.
Hello.
Okay. Just going to see our other folks. Oh, you know what we have to do? Yeah.
Yo.
Oh.
I like how you're like fighting. Like an old school fighter.
She's back.
I went on my phone. I missed everything Cliff said. Every little thing.
Well, we can see you a lot better now, I think.
Okay. I think I just need to upgrade my laptop. So I'm on my phone. This seems to be working better. Sorry about that.
No worries.
No worries at all. Okay, so let's move on to the next banner. It's funny how if you haven't read a book for 2 weeks, it's not fresh on your mind. It's difficult to talk about it, eh? Okay, what have we got?
I find like the ones that we end up talking about, I end up feeling more connected to later on sometimes than at the time I read it. So sometimes people pick up on stuff that I didn't really catch, you know?
Yeah. Okay, writing style. Just how she writes as an author. Just thoughts. What do you think? I mean, we spoke about it being very easy to read, kind of relaxed style.
I like her writing. I've read a few books by T. Kingfisher. She's able to be very descriptive at times, but not overly flowery or anything like that. I think this had a very conversational tone to it that I did enjoy because it sucked me in. Sometimes I think like folk horror is like a little too serious for me, or maybe you just have to be in the right mood. Like it's a little too dark, but she was able to bring some humor into it and make us feel a connection to this character. Mouse, I don't think had like a ton of personality, but because of her dog Bongo, we were able to really care about the situation. And honestly, Bongo is her motivating factor for a lot of the situation that she's in and the decisions that she makes in the story to actually make it make sense. So I like her writing. That was a long way to say that.
Kelly?
I enjoy her writing also. I think this is my third book that I've read. I think I read is it The House with Good Bones that's got like a vulture on the cover? Something like that. And then that other, I can't remember what it is, but I find her writing easy to read. It's not overly flowery like some can be. Like you said, Bongo, like he made the story for me, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yes. The whole time you're wondering, how's this going to end for the dog? That was my thoughts.
Yeah.
He wasn't the brightest dog, and I think that's why I kind of liked him, because he was just this big dummy with a big heart and getting into stuff, you know?
Yeah. No, he was the star of the show.
Yeah, for sure.
And I actually really enjoyed the other character as well. I really enjoyed Mouse. I thought she had a kind of a sense of it. The way she reacted to what was happening to her was interesting. It wasn't like overreaction or kind of running away screaming. It's kind of a decision she made, and and she was full of humor. I mean, a lot of the humor came from seeing the story through her eyes and what she said about the dog. And,
Yeah.
I found it very easy and relaxed, kind of a cozy horror laced with humor. And I enjoyed that for the most part. So it was something different for me because it's not really your typical horror. But yeah, I loved the writing. Yeah. Let's see what the comments are. We got quite a few here. Got to keep track of these. Okay, probably got to Constance. Hello all. Seen her? Okay, Alicia. Yes, we've been through these. Mindy's book journey.
Mindy.
Hello, Mindy. We got Amanda. I really like the creepy stuff, but the story lost me when it went into the fantasy world. Yeah, I'm not a fantasy reader. I'm really curious about what fantasy readers think about that part. Okay. Stuart says, this is the second book I read from her. I really like her writing style. There were occasional spots where I didn't quite get some minor points, but they weren't really important. Yeah. And then Alicia, I'm a fantasy reader, but it still didn't quite work for me. I do like her writing though. I ended up giving it a 3. And Super Strange Shadow. I was Super Strange Shadow. I just love that name as well. That's cool. I read it 1 or 2 years ago. I liked the beginning, but not the humor. The ending was leaning more towards fantasy than horror. Yeah, I actually want to talk about that later. I'm not going to talk about it now because on one of the prompts I put on here about how it's about like with horror you feel real dread and threat. Something's going to hurt you. That whole fantasy thing, even though the atmosphere was awesome and the creatures, they were so well done, I never felt like threatened. You know what I mean? It was just you walking through this world, and we'll go there a bit later. But yeah, and then Alicia, Bongi and Foxy made the book for me.
Foxy, yeah.
Yeah, Foxy was a lady.
Yeah.
Okay. I like Bongo. I love the character's voice. And very witty. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to some banners. I think we're going to move to the next one. Characters, what we've been talking about, but let's talk about it in a little bit more depth. What you liked about each character. The main character. Are there any characters you did not like? You feel like that the development could have been done a little bit better in the case of some of the characters? How was that done? Kelly?
Are we talking spoilers or not?
Yeah, full spoilers.
Okay. So when they introduced all these side characters that were suddenly coming around that wanted to help her, I was like, okay, something's up. These people have to have something to do with all this crap that's going on. I was very skeptical of Foxy, I'm not going to lie, up even to the end, because I don't know, just maybe I'm one of those people where I am not very trusting of strangers, not initially anyways, not to the point where I'm going to be having dinner with them and all that right away like she did. I don't know. I think that the mouse character was a little naive in that, but I guess they ended up helping her anyway. So, I don't know. Like, and the grandma, I wish they had given us some more details about why grandma was thought of so terribly.
Kelly's standing up for grandma.
Yes. I mean, there's got to be and then she married. It wasn't it that the journal belonged to her second husband, I thought.
Yeah, because that was like her step grandfather. I don't know what happened to the first husband. I don't even know if he was mentioned.
Right. So I feel like did we really even learn much about him?
No.
I don't remember. I don't know. I just feel like if you're going to mention them,
and the journal is like written by someone who it was very garbled, I thought. So you're like reading this through the eyes of someone who's writing something who's scared and going through dementia. And yeah. So no.
I want to say how horrible the grandma is. For me, the worst thing that she did is that keeping him awake, forcing him to go outside and sleep outside because he couldn't get any rest. He couldn't take a nap because this woman was making noise. And remember that part?
I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
but we're just hearing one side of that story, okay?
True.
But there's so many other examples. She was I'm going to say it, okay? She was a bitch. She was horrible. She was horrible to everyone. And you get like all the people in the town that Mouse meets. You know, there's a lot of evidence there that this was a horrible, horrible woman.
Why? Like, what was the point of having this character kind of worked up halfway? And there was so much emphasis on the house and all the stuff in the house and how horrible the grandma was, and it went nowhere. Like, to me, like
at the end, she, and the creepy dolls, and no.
You might have to tell me what happened at the end because I
don't you remember. We'll get there. Yeah.
Okay.
But I love Bongo. Okay.
Yes.
My favorite. I love that dog. Actually, I've got a quote because I know you guys are not going to have quotes at the end of this. But I've got a quote. And this absolutely, this cracked me up. There's a couple of things said about Bongo that cracked me up. But this was just brilliant. Bongo is an excellent watchdog. By which I mean that he will watch very alertly as a serial killer breaks into the house and scares me alive. That's the kind of dog he is. Like all nose, very loyal, but yeah, not much of a dog.
We just go up and lick the hand of the killer, exactly. Like, hey, what's up? You got food for me?
Yeah. Layla will be
a hound, wasn't he? Like, was he a bloodhound?
Yeah, he was some kind of
hound. Yeah,
described as all nose.
I have a beagle, so kind of. I have a soft heart for hounds in general. I've always wanted a basset or like a bloodhound. So yes, he won in this book. He's the best character.
For sure.
And it doesn't matter if he runs off. If she lets go of the leash, he's not going to come back for a while. Right?
Now they follow their noses. All the hounds. You better have like a fenced-in yard, a long leash, or you're not going to see them for a while.
Yeah.
That to me is crazy. I'd be freaking out if my dog just took off. I wouldn't be like, I guess he'll come back. Like,
yeah, that was actually. And for those of you, before we carry on, because this is a spoiler review, I'm going to say it. The dog is okay.
Yay, Bongo.
But I just want to add to like something Kelly said about these characters coming in to the story, because I kind of hate when a story does that, where all of a sudden it's like strangers that are so kind and just like, yeah, come on over. Yeah, I'll help you do this. And it's just like, to me, that sets off. Maybe it's different in the South. Maybe. I'm from the North. And when someone is too kind, I'm like, what's your angle? What do you want? Like, you know what I mean? I don't understand. And it happens in a lot in books in general, where it's just these super overly helpful people who are like, I've got nothing going on and I'm just here to help you out. I don't get it. Maybe you got some Southerners that can let us know.
Yeah. No, we got lovely neighbors and we don't know them that well. Oh, but we had an incident the other day. It's actually quite interesting. And but it doesn't really show so much about neighbors and about strangers. Well, strangers, yes, but also the state of our country. We had the gate wide open. And Anita was doing some fencing. This was happening. And we needed a new, not a motor for the car. We needed a new battery. And it's relaxed here. It's the South Coast. So it's not Johannesburg, in the big city. Here you can take your dog for a walk at night on your own. You can walk around quite casually. And the gate was open, and this guy was bringing this battery for the car because our car needed a battery. And this car screeches up to the driveway, and this woman starts hooting, thinking that it's a burglary. And she had Johannesburg number plates, the big city where all this crime is. And everyone was looking at her like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, no, we thought you were being burgled."
So, well, that was nice.
People don't trust in the big cities because it's crime. You got to watch out even if you go for a walk. Whereas here, we sometimes take Layla at 9 o'clock in the evening, take her down to the beach. People around, even if there's no people around, you feel completely safe. Whereas back there, absolutely unsafe. So trust it. Maybe it's a little bit besides what we were talking about, but I just thought it was a fun story.
Yeah.
This Joburg woman thinking that we're being robbed.
Hey, at least she was going to say something. A lot of people will be like, I'm not getting involved in that.
No,
and just keep going.
We were very thankful for it. We just thought it was very funny because, that's the level of trust you get in the big city compared to like a small community that we're in.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to some more comments. Where are the comments? Oh, here we go. Grandma was a bitch. Yes, she was.
Well, what made her that way? That's the thing. Why? Why was she so
Ellie
bad?
and I understand.
I told you.
It was not a bee for no reason. And she did not make her husband sleep outside for no reason either. There's a reason, and we just don't know what it is.
Okay, I'm actually lost here with the comments. I'm just going to go from Alicia. Okay, Bongi and Foxy made this book for me too. Bongo, I love the voice. Very witty, yeah. I got the name because when I was born, my best friend is a dingo. My dad bought a dingo pup from a zoo.
I grew up with her. Dingo pup?
And she was my best friend.
Maybe in 1965 you could.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
Okay. My brother's nickname, that it's very just in the family, is Polar Bear. Because when he went to the zoo, he didn't want to go anywhere else except for the polar bear enclosure.
Oh,
so just calling him Polar Bear. And it just stuck. And I'm just glad he's not living in Canada at the moment. Moved. Most of Kingfisher books are fantasy horror.
Yeah, they're like dark fantasy. I don't know that I would call any of it really horror. Even House with Good Bones. I don't know.
What about cozy horror? Doesn't that fit in better?
I suppose. I'm not a cozy horror lover. Like, I only think of Darcy Coates, and it doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah. For input, Krisha, I struggle with fantasies. I don't know what to think of. Okay. Conversations. Didn't care much about any of the characters except for Bongo. Badly written. Just maybe not for me. Mouse was just okay. Agree with Kelly about being skeptical of everyone. Okay. That's just quickly. Journal did mention multiple occasions where the grandmother treated the step.
That's just his words.
For real. What did he do?
What about the rest of
Kelly and I know.
Maybe he asked for it, but he's never going to write badly about himself in the journal.
Yeah, I want to read Grandma's journal because she didn't hide that book for no reason. She hid his green book. He did something.
Grandma was a bee. I agree with Alicia. And everyone in the town thought so. So I don't know what you're going on about. Everyone that Mouse came into contact with, including what the people on the other side.
We don't need to villainize this old woman who just wanted to live her life out in the middle of nowhere without her husband bugging her all the time.
And so she keeps
her creepy dolls.
Creepy dolls, and so she bangs. So he can't get any rest. So he has to go sleep in the woods.
Team Grandma.
Sounds like a really nice person to me.
It just seems like there could have been more explored with that. And why mention it if it's not important to the story? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm not trashing it at all.
I know.
I'm
Justice
just having
for Grandma.
justice for Grandma. Okay. Obviously. You go, Cliff. Yes, you were the beach.
He was. But there was reason for it, I'm sure.
There's nothing wrong with being a bitch.
There are a lot of people like that in the South that still be wary, as I'm from the North.
Yeah.
Kris, I live in the South. Many people are very kind, but I watch too many true crime shows and don't trust anyone.
I gotta say something.
I can't comment on this because I don't live in America, so I'm really going to don't know about this.
I grew up in Chicago and I moved to the West Coast when I was like 27-ish. And when I first moved here, like going through I'd go through like a Starbucks or something and people would be like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Whatever. And then they would continue like, "So what are you up today?" And I'm like, "I'm working." "Oh, where do you work?" And I literally just looked at him and like, "What are you stalking me? Like what? What do you want?" And I told my coworkers and they're just like, "Oh yeah, they're just being nice." I'm like, "Oh." Like you're asking too many questions. They don't need to know all that.
Yeah. I'm like that too. Just give me what I asked for. I don't keep it short and sweet.
We're not friends now. So I've relaxed a lot after moving to the West Coast, but there's still that part of me because where I'm from, if someone's asking you, there's an angle and they want something from you. So there's just a level of distrust to keep yourself safe, I think.
Okay, so let's get to the banners. We're doing quite well, yeah? Right. Okay, now this is going to be an interesting one. So let's give it because I would imagine that talking about this book, okay? In the horror, you've got the scare levels, right? It's got to be frightening, it's got to be terrifying, horrifying. But also, there's a creep factor to think about. Because I thought a lot of this book was pretty damn creepy. There were some really good scenes that stood out, be it a dark fantasy or not. There were some very creepy scenes. So I want to hear from each of you how you would rate it in terms, first of all, the creep factor, and then the actual scare factor.
Like out of 5, out of 10? What do you mean?
Maybe out of 5. Maybe out of 5.
Okay.
Who's going first?
Kelly, you go first.
There were some scenes that were creepy. I don't know. Going back to these people that are so close by, to me, that's creepier than what actually evolved into. Just people just randomly showing up. I was scared when the dog ran off. I think that was the most scariest to me. Well, what's going to happen to this dog? That's what I kept going back to. I don't know. I think it went in a direction to me that is not as scary as it could have been.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah. So at times it was a 3, at times a little more creepy.
Yeah. So maybe give it a 2.5.
Sure. That works. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like around a 3. I think that the creepiest thing for me probably was when she was just out walking in the forest and she saw, what did she call it? An effigy.
Effigy.
Yeah, because to me, an actual truly scary thing is being out in the middle of nowhere and not knowing other people that live there and the stuff that they're doing in these very secluded areas. So it was like she thought she saw like a dead animal at first hanging, right? And then realized it was not just that. But to me, if I was walking in the woods, even if it was like a hunter, if I just saw like dead animals hanging, that would creep me out because I know that they're willing to take a life, whether it's an animal or a human or whatever. I didn't really understand the creepiness of the stones that she was finding, the twisted ones, I guess. Maybe I just could not picture them in my head. I didn't really understand why a rock would be scary. So a lot of that to me wasn't scary. And then when these things were coming to her home and she was in bed, at first I thought that was a little creepy. But then when you realize like it's not breaking the windows, it's not coming in. So as long as she stays there, she's safe. I didn't really feel like I was in danger. I wasn't scared per se, but I did find some of like using dead animal pieces kind of creepy.
Yeah. I think the effigy was pretty damn creepy.
Yeah,
and the
I think
visit,
that was probably the
and
creepiest.
the one part where they're all locked in, and it's coming and it's looking in at the kitchen, looking for them in the kitchen. I found that pretty damn creepy. And I got to admit, the first visit she made to the stones, not the second, getting it there. The first visit she made to the stones, where she started making faces, right, twisting her face to match the stone, and worrying that it was going to stay in place. That found that like that was just a bit creepy. And the concept of the monsters, for me, pretty creepy. But I never found them threatening. I never found them like downright terrifying. Which a horror novel where there is a threat, someone's going to die, someone's going to be hurt. You never felt that in this book.
No, because she had those neighbors that seemed to know that stuff was out there, and they're just like, hey, if I don't F with that, I'm fine. I just stay over here and mind my business and I'm just fine.
Yeah. But even when she does F with that and she goes out, well, not sure if it's to look for a dog. Oh, if the dog comes back, and she goes out with Foxy. I love Foxy. Kind of a teenager in an older lady's body. I loved her. Dress sense, everything. That's the perfect sidekick. But they go off, remember? And then they enter this world. And I just never felt that they were threatened, really. There were all these creatures. And kind of got confusing. A fantasy world, but the backstory and everything was not very well done of these creatures.
I was a little bit lost by the time I got there, a little bit.
But also there's a lot of traveling on foot surrounded by these creatures, and they end up in this dead city. Remember, this empty city. And I just expected so much more from that whole section. That was a huge letdown for me. Yeah. So I would give it maybe, in some parts, 4 out of 5 even. Like thumbs up on the creep factor. Because creep is different to terror. On the terror factor, 1.5 maybe.
It was like unsettling more than anything. Just sort of unsettling.
Yeah. That's why I call it a cozy horror or dark thing. Because it wasn't supposed to be flat out terrifying. It's not what the book's about. Cozy. Okay.
I thought the most terrifying thing was Grandma's house, and thinking, oh shit, this is going to be me one day having to go through my dad's house.
I can't keep up with this. Hang on. I don't know where I am. Where am I?
You can do it.
I can do it. I know the last comment was, my best friend is a dingo. Okay. Yeah, the last comment is this one. My best friend is a dingo. I love that story, by the way. Matt, I think one of the early signs of Alzheimer's is being a female or female.
I got real early signs that.
Oh, I think they're saying that an early sign of Alzheimer's is being a bitch, male or female.
Oh, a bitch, yeah, okay.
Personalities definitely change.
Yeah.
So maybe she was going through some dementia stuff.
I'm 54 now. I don't know how long it's going to take me to be a bitch. Might be I'm moving closer.
Early.
Let's ask Anita. Because she's still sweet. She's not anything like it. Okay. What have we got here? The scariest part was obviously losing Bongo. Yeah, okay. Outside of that, claustrophobia.
Yeah, and I think that like a lot of the times the story where she would have just gotten the heck out of there, but she
Mhm.
had to stay once Bongo got loose. Because I would say that instead of making all, like, the stupid mistakes that people make, like, in horror movies, where they would be like, "I'm just gonna stay here," she was willing to get the heck out of there, but then what's the only thing
Oh,
that
she
would
got
keep
a
her there?
note. Got a note. Please help me. I also questioned that. I'm sorry. That was
What?
a very weak. Remember when Bongo came back and they were ready to get the hell out of Dodge, but she had a note. Bongo had a note. Please help me.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I forgot
And
about
I'm
that.
thinking, I kind of,
I
yeah,
would have
I
been
should.
like, "I don't know, you gotta go."
I would
What
say, what?
what was on the note again? I can't remember.
Please help me or something.
Oh,
So
well,
maybe
I would have
Wasn't it
please
like
helped myf and left anyways. Get the
But
dog
didn't
and get
she
the
think
hell
it
out of
was her
there.
dead grandfather that wrote that?
yeah, I think it was, no, it was, okay, this is where I'm a
Oh,
little,
the girl that she
that
saw
girl,
in the woods.
yeah, and that girl is one of the, it's like kings and queens of these people, and these people, these creatures need sort of a king and queen, something like that. And this girl deceived them because
Yeah.
they're part of this family, this bloodline, or whatever. And so remember, and so she was going to deceive them to get to be replaced because she was sick and tired of like living this immortal life, whatever. These
She
creatures.
was a brood mare. She
But once I got Bongo, I would have just said bye. Nice
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, same.
same.
Yeah. Okay. So what do we got here? Oh no, man. A scary part of losing Bongo. Yeah. Claustrophobic cave stuff. Yeah. Are you talking about at that dead city, right at the top there? Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Remember they were in a cave. I know that they were kept captive for a while by that woman. He was pretending to say that she's going to save them from these creatures. The whole thing was badly done. I didn't enjoy that whole part. It was like kind of interesting, but it could have been done so well.
I think I had a hard time picturing a lot of stuff in my head when I got to that part.
Yeah. Pretty much a scary scene was when she saw the skull in the window and
Yeah.
turned towards her. Yeah. For me, that was it. I thought it was very creepy. I thought it did a good job establishing a sense of dread. Didn't think it was all that scary. Part of that mouse is telling you what happened. Okay.
I think it does a great job of establishing everything, but it doesn't do a good job of holding on to your interest after a certain point, at least in my opinion. I think the explanation to everything could have been done better. It
Yeah.
did get kind of jumbled up at not kind of, it did get jumbled up at the end to me.
Yeah, I agree. Especially that other world. There were way too many unanswered questions, kind of origin stories, stuff that I wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just not plausible, really.
I feel like a lot of books do this though, where they have this really great idea that's creepy, unknown stuff, and then when you actually find the answer, you're just like, "That was it?" Like, you
Or
just
you
made
get
that
none at
shit up.
all.
Yeah.
Was that it? Yeah.
So those are not my favorite types of stories to begin with, I guess, where we just can make anything up.
It takes quite a bit to truly scare me. Atmosphere is number one. I thought the atmosphere in this book was actually very good. Like, I think the imagery, oh, I'm going to call it horror imagery because it was. I thought it was really good. Atmosphere, the imagery. But as I said before, you never felt threatened, or I never felt like anything was going to come of it. It was just too cozy for anything like
I
for
felt
certain
like there
one of
was
the
a
creatures
moment when
to slit your
she
throat, or I never felt anything. I never felt like the characters were in danger, and maybe that's because of the narrator's voice, and that they were just too kind and too good. They were just lovely characters, and that no one would dare harm them. Like Bongo, nothing was going to happen to him because it would have been completely. What's the right way to say this? It would have been completely out of the way she's been writing. right, about this dog and about this character. It was too cozy and it was too. She's not going to suddenly turn on this dog and hurt this dog.
No, I didn't think Bongo was ever really in danger,
No,
but I
to be
did
honest.
feel like when they went to the other world that something was going to happen there more than just them running away.
Yeah.
Like maybe something was going to happen to Foxy or, you know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
thought maybe, but I just thought the way that the book was being written, it would have
Yeah.
been too much. Would have been too much of like kind of a left turn. You know what I mean? It would have been too much
Too
of a
serious
departure
when
from
the book wasn't that serious. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. It's been a while since I read it, but the dear effigy thing was super creepy. Yeah, that's why I give it very high points on the creepy scale.
That part kind of reminded me of like Blair Witch when like they're just walking through the woods and they see like all of those like sticks like hanging and you're just like, oh shit. Like I don't know who did this, but they're not right.
Okay, I just want to get rid of this virus and threat protection on my computer. It's gonna go away. Okay. What do you think about that Watch Tower thing? I was so confused. Yeah, that whole part was confusing.
I don't even remember that.
Oh,
That was
I
at
remember
the end when they were in the
Go on.
that was just in I'm guessing that was in the end when they were like found out that they were betrayed by that girl and they go into what I just pictured like a big room full of bony
These things,
guys.
and these things are putting things together from
Yeah.
slavery
Yes.
and stuff.
Okay.
And
But
yeah.
what was their point? Like, why did they need to keep making babies or what? I don't know. Like,
No,
why?
it was, I think that's why I'm very, very generous. It should be a 3-star. But a 4-star.
You can change your answer, Cliff. We will let you.
I did give it 3.5. I just thought it was a breeze to read, and I thought it was easy reading, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I
And
wasn't mad at reading it, except for one part. One part I didn't like, which I think you're gonna have coming up here. So
yeah. Oh, I will have it. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Info dump.
oh.
Okay. What do you think about so that we don't really think about it at all? Sorry. I
we
agree.
do.
It had promised in last meeting. I'm way too gentle on these books. I should have actually given that a 3. I mean, I'm really, honestly.
I like how we're like the 3 tiers. Like Cliff is like the easiest on books. I'm not so much, and Kelly's just like take no shit.
No.
I'm trying to
DNF. Kelly, just DNF.
Listen, I finished this, so that says something.
That does.
Yeah.
That's almost like a 5-star right there.
That's going too far. That no, I think I've only had like 2 or 3 5-stars this year.
Yeah. Well, I think that this, and I'm going to show the next banner because, for example,
because you already know it didn't work for us.
But let's just say, did anything really not work for you? Let's start with you, Kris.
So for me, there was a point when I was reading this where I was honestly like, I think, because I've been trying to channel my inner Kelly lately in DNF books. If this was not a book club pick, I would have DNF'd it during the whole diary thing. The whole diary at first was like, okay, this could be something. And then it went on for so long that it took me forever to finish the book because I didn't really want to pick it up because it didn't make sense. I was not going to try to piece together these incoherent babblings on the page. And when he was rewriting from memory what was in the green book, and it's kind of funny because at the end of the story, if you read like the afterword by the author, she's like, I hate when an author does this. And then why did you do it?
Why did you
Or
do that?
someone is like, I think that this is what the book said. I knew you never find the green book. What was the point? I didn't understand, unless I'm just dumb, the clues that they were leaving for me. And I would have taken that entire thing out, except for maybe finding his diary that kind of led her in the right direction, maybe. It went on for too long, and I wanted to DNF it at that point. Once that ended, I was fine with it, and the part before I was fine with it, but I hated that part.
I actually thought that as well. I agree with everything you said, that it was at a moment in the story where the narrative needed to go on and not just be shut down like that. Because the book was getting quite exciting at that point. So it actually took me out of the story so much, and I was invested at that time when this diary thing started, that it was just like, oh no, come on, you know. And then
Kelly, that's why I asked you how you finished it so quickly.
Oh, I did the audio, or I don't know.
I know, but I was
audio
like,
definitely helped.
I felt like this book read quickly and it wasn't that long, but I got stuck on that part for so long that I'm like, it took me too long to read this book.
Yeah. Kelly?
I don't know. Sometimes that does work in some books where they have like the journal or, you know, kind of another timeline that gives you information that kind of enhances the story, but this I don't think it did. So I like characters to have meaning, and I do think adding a couple of them side characters did not work for me. Like, why did you mention it? What was the point of these people? There were a couple that I don't know if Foxy lived with them.
Foxy lived with two guys.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Were helping her out.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I thought they were going to play a bigger part, or why did you mention them? That was, I don't know. I feel like a lot of books either add too many characters where it's too hard to keep them straight. So don't tell me anything about them. Don't mention them. Like she could have said, "Oh, I live with two guys." Okay, we don't need names and like
their whole backstory.
Right.
I think that those characters existed only for her to have conversation because she was there by herself and all she could talk to was Bongo, which
That's
is
where
fine.
that's where you get the creepy neighbor coming in offering to help.
Right.
Oh, just, hi, I'm from over the road. Let me help you unpack.
She also had the barista at the coffee place that she would just throw a dump on.
The goth chick.
Yes.
Yeah. I liked it.
I liked her.
Could have been more of her.
It was just, it was just there for convenience. The characters,
because the goth girl was less creepy because she went to have a cup of coffee, not like this guy from over the road comes in and says, "Oh,"
and she did not cross any boundaries. She was there, she was friendly, and she didn't like follow her home or something.
It was actually quite interesting. I think, and I think we've actually got to the point already of the transition from going from the real world with the creepy stuff, going at the end of the book to the stones and going this journey with this woman and all these creatures surrounding them, and going to this empty city and this the wasp.
I didn't mind that part because they had to have like a big thing at the end, right? It wasn't my favorite, but at least something happened, I guess.
You mean when they escaped?
Just them going to that other world was them like coming to face the problem. Even though I would have just gotten out of there.
I was just disappointed because I think it could have been done so well with those monsters and the sense of threat, and not just, there's a lot of walking in that scene through the city.
I liked when they were going through what was like a tunnel, right? Like a tunnel of branches or something, and they could see the effigy on the outside, like through the branches, like kind of following them along. I kind of liked that tunnel thing. It kind of reminded me of like Coraline when she goes into like the door, but I don't know. I didn't like the explanation of them just wanting someone to make babies with, to have parts for. Oh, and like those two guards that were her guards were like her children.
Yeah.
That part didn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the build up to that made me even more disappointed because I expected more. It's traveling through this tunnel. Oh no, we're going to keep you here and decide what to do with you. Oh no, I'm gonna make sure that you can escape. The whole thing is a deception, and I don't know. It just didn't work for me.
It wasn't a deception when we were confused already.
Right.
Sorry?
I said it didn't feel like a deception because I was just confused anyway. So it was just like this person that comes out of nowhere. I already didn't trust her. It wasn't, if Foxy had betrayed her, that would be different because we had like a rapport with Foxy. We didn't know this other chick from anything. So I wanted her to find something in that house. She spent so much time looking through the house that I wanted her to find a key to this puzzle, or that grandma knew about this big mystery all along or something.
I agree. We spent a lot of time talking about cleaning out the house, but then does the house really play a role in this thing?
Radio,
not really.
that radio stuff too.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this is on the radio again. And I'm like, I expected like some voices to be coming through the radio, something.
Okay, let's see what we got in the comments. I think we're all just really confused about that ending. It's just basic.
I agree. Yeah.
A lot of build up for a poor payoff.
Yeah. Okay, we've got so many comments here that I don't know. Okay, I know that I've seen that one. It's been a while since I wrote that. Yeah, everything was super creepy. What do you think about that? Oh, yeah, sorry. Further on. Held promise and lost me. I don't think there was enough info established early on to make us care about the later. Yeah. I don't think you really understand, what do you want to call it? It's a folk horror. So you need info on the whole mythos and for it to make sense later. Because suddenly you're going from, yes, these creepy effigies and things happening in the woods, in the real world, and suddenly you get transported to this place that was just weird. It was just weird. And you didn't know enough about it. So I agree with Alicia there.
I think even if you learned a little bit along the way,
yeah,
it would have felt like a stronger ending.
Yeah, so like gradually unfolding.
Yes, I think they needed this to be edited a little bit more, to be honest with you, on that end part. Something it was missing. I don't know.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there.
Well, on the plus side, I'm glad it wasn't just me because I thought maybe it was in that notebook and I just was like not having it. I don't know. I was not putting the pieces together or something.
Yeah. I love horror and fantasy. This book worked for me. Yeah. Look, I love fantasy, but for some reason that world did not work for me. There was too much, I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. And that wasp factory thing did not make sense to me.
So are you guys familiar with, the green book was supposed to be the white people, which I guess is a trope or a book or a thing that people know about in horror, but I had no knowledge of it. So maybe if you did, this story would make more sense.
Maybe.
What is that called?
The white book? Or the white people, sorry, the white people.
Mansion or something. Or mansion. I think
that she based this book off of that, whatever that is. I think I skipped that part of the explanation.
I think some of it was in the end at the author's note. I was just like, I don't know what that is, but maybe if someone's familiar with it, the story made more sense. Because most of her stories are retellings of some sort.
Okay. And we're not as good at the beginning though. I think journal entries or flashbacks only work for me when it's enhancing the intrigue and getting non-info dumpy background that fits with the outline. Yeah. But yeah, I think that I think it's Arthur Mansion is the author. And this book is almost like a tribute to that, or alludes to that. The whites, what do you call it? The whites?
The white
White
people.
people.
Yeah, the white people, yeah. But I don't really have any desire to read that now in order to make sense of this book.
Yeah, no.
Maybe if I'd known beforehand, maybe if she'd done it in the introduction, say, read this
Yeah.
first in the book.
It did feel like it was kind of two different books, really. Like after a certain point,
Yeah.
it shifted gears almost like as a different book. And so that made everything at the end feel very random.
Yeah. And just too many questions as opposed to answers. Yeah. And like you said, if there was some kind of gradual unveiling of a backstory of this world, of just dropping hints from time, it might have made more sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Book had just recently DNF's first book I've read. That is finished. I no want to read another word, but the middle of the chapter, yeah. I need to learn how to DNF more. Which book? In Dark, I Become Loathsome. Yeah.
I think I've heard that from a lot of other people. Didn't care for that one.
Matt did a review on that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The white people sounds...
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, I have no desire to pick that up.
I'm not sure it's that bad. But let's look at Bannersby up now. We're doing quite well, people. Anyway, for you, I'm not going to bother with that because we've spoken about that. Okay, I've lumped this all together, but we can do this as we want. Kind of ending, final thoughts, any favorite quotes, anything that you want to talk about. I'm going to start with Kelly or Kris. Which one? Kelly, let's go.
Sure. Even though I did not care for the end, I finished it. Like I said, that is a feat in itself. So it was intriguing enough for me to finish. I do want to try what's that? There's another one that has a similar looking cover.
Is it the hollow kind?
The hollow kind or something like that.
So I have to warn you that I was reading. Well, I haven't read that, but I was reading reviews about this one before we came on here to try to refresh my memory. And a lot of people said that this seemed like her almost first draft for that book, where she took this and improved upon it, where there's a lot of similarities of like characters and things like that. So I think maybe this was one of her earlier works, and then she like, I'm not saying it's the same story, but yeah, like it's similar.
Okay, well maybe that one is better. I don't know. I did like A House with Good Bones, which it does have a fantasy aspect now that I'm thinking about it. And I'm not a fantasy reader, but I did enjoy that one. I do think that manga was the best part of this. I think we can all agree on that one. And Grandma needed to be explored more.
Grandma was missing.
Yeah.
Grandma, bitch.
She was a bitch, but there was a reason for it. I'm pretty sure of that, but we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Okay. I'll stop calling her a bitch.
I don't remember any quotes, to be honest with you.
That's fine. I've already given mine, so we'll give that part a skip.
Yeah, I don't have any quotes or anything. Like I said, it sounds like I'm trashing the book, but I wasn't mad that I read it, except for that middle part with the notebook. I would definitely read more T. Kingfisher. I've read other stuff, and it is all kind of fantasy, and some of it's like more whimsical, some of it's a little darker. I do think that she's a good writer. I haven't had like a 5-star T. Kingfisher yet, but I would still, it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Probably more than the two of you. And I actually do read fantasy. I read a lot of fantasy when I was younger. and dark fantasy and stuff like that. It just, that end didn't work for me. But we didn't talk about the end. So yes, she escapes and then goes into the house. And I thought that whole, right at the end there, I would call it the climax of the book, where the grandma bitch, sorry, I couldn't help myself. But she's kind of resurrected, isn't she? With all the stuff in the house that she tries to kill her. Turns out the grandfather is, or step grandfather, whatever, is the effigy. Remember that? Remember?
And she said he just kept trying to come home, and he couldn't get in because grandma wanted him out.
And she sets the house on fire and burns them, and I thought that was quite exciting. I liked that.
Yes, that it did pick up there at the end.
Yeah, although it didn't make a lot of sense from where it was in that world. Yeah, and I know what kind of worlds I like in fantasy if I'm going to read fantasy, and that wasn't really it, because I wanted, with all that creepy, those monsters, I wanted it to be horror, something really dark, and I suppose that just didn't deliver.
She just doesn't horror.
Yeah, and you know, whether I read another Kingfisher book, perhaps, but I'm not going to be in a huge rush to. But I did enjoy this. I mean, I did enjoy it. But there's so many authors out there, so many books to read. So, yeah. But I think the House of Good Bones might hold some kind of promise in the future. But yeah. So maybe I should just read this awesome quote again, just to make up time, because it's so awesome. Bongo is an excellent watchdog.
Yeah.
By which I mean that he will watch very alertly as a serial killer breaks in the house and skins me alive. He's a dumb dog, but he's a beautiful dog. And sorry, that made me laugh out loud. Having Layla, I know that when she was a puppy and we had a break-in, no, but I will not go there. But yeah, I think Layla, that happened, that guy won't know what it is. Yeah. So any final thoughts before we say goodbye? Let's just see if there's any other comments of people saying goodbye. Okay, the white people sounds terrifying. Stuart Griffin, I read a lot of fantasy. It doesn't bother me too much, but I didn't understand everything about the latter part. I enjoyed the journey of the characters. Yeah, the characters are wonderful. I enjoyed the book. Okay, I've given almost all of the Kingfisher books. I've read 5 stars. What a 5 minutes so far.
Mindy, what's your favorite T. Kingfisher book?
Yeah, tell us your favorite. Hang on, let me get you. Oh, actually, 4 out of 6.
That's pretty good.
Exactly, Kelly. Exactly, Kelly. I still finish most books even when it isn't going particularly well. Maybe there will be a payoff by the end. It's the fragment of the payoff. Yeah. Alicia, I read a lot of fantasy, but just because it's fantastical doesn't mean it can't make sense.
I also hate fever dream books.
Yeah.
At that end part, I was just thinking about this. I didn't mind once they got back to the house and like the whole fire thing. I didn't mind that. But like the fantasy world part, that to me just felt out of place. Yeah. Because it just came out of nowhere to me, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And as I say, I think the horror imagery and the atmosphere, because for me it was a kind of horrifying atmosphere with the effigies and these monsters, you know, twisting and all that stuff going on. I thought that was very creepy and very, great imagery. And that's not really something you find in a lot of fantasy. But I want that to be terrifying if I read it in a book, and it didn't feel threatening to make me like. So yeah, that was still enjoyable. I had a fun time. Okay, so we're waiting for Mindy to tell us which book. I still read Plot sound between like right. Look, I'll definitely pick her up again. I want to actually hear from Mindy, because if I want to know a book to read by this author again that I might like, yes, Mindy seems to be the person. Mindy, I hope you're there.
Oh, I think she wrote it.
What?
She wrote it.
She wrote it, yeah. What, her favorite book?
Yeah, so
here we go. What Moves the Dead is my favorite then. House with Good Bones. Okay, so What Moves the Dead is on my radar.
So What Moves the Dead is a retelling of Poe's Fall of the House of Usher.
Ooh,
So,
okay.
because most of what T. Kingfisher writes is some sort of retelling. But I would agree that was probably my favorite that I've read by her too.
And was it a lot better than this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I liked it a lot.
Okay. So then I'm gonna read it. Put that on my TV.
I like House with Good Bones better than What Moves the Dead.
Yeah.
But they're in different time periods, so I guess it depends on what you're looking for at the time of reading.
What Moves the Dead is a little more fantasy, I think, than House with Good Bones. House with Good Bones is not very fantasy, probably her least fantasy of all of her stories, except for maybe Where It Goes. But yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely going to pick up again. So I am intrigued, and I enjoyed the writing, and I really love the way she writes characters. And the first person narration, I just enjoyed the book overall, even though, there were parts that irked me. So I'll definitely pick her up again. So, but as you say, there are so many new authors to discover, so many books. Can't do it all at once. Okay, we're going to say goodbye to people just now. Let's just get the remaining. I think horror is my favorite genre because it's very to throw fantasy. Tropes of any kind, they have to be really, truly earned. They have to work within the same world. Has anyone read Nettle and Bone?
Yeah, that's the one I read. I read that one. It was more fantasy, and I felt like it was, I don't know if it actually is YA, but it felt YA to me.
Yeah.
It was
I know that she writes under her real name. Shelley Mary. I can't remember. One of the comments I got before we did this video.
I'll have to look that up.
She writes under her real name, which I can remember what it is now. But she mainly writes children's and YA stuff.
Oh, okay.
So this is her kind of pseudonym for grown-up books. Yeah. Okay. I love Nettle and Bone. Great case. Therapy. This has been a good chill. Thank you, guys. Be well and take care. Absolutely, Matt. Take care, man.
Yep. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah. We have hit all the 4 or 5 stars now. What Moves the Dead? House with Bones. Well, I'm staying with my 4-star. I really enjoyed the book. I might have complained and moaned and bitched about certain things, but I actually really had fun
about it.
Yeah, and I hope I hope you guys had fun as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a blast. And are we gonna? Oh, Ursula something. Yes, that's it. And
while Cliff's doing that, I just want to remind everyone that I put up the poll today for the May book that we're going to read. It's a little bit late in putting that up, but we're going to be doing a zombie read for May in honor of Kat's zombie readathon that she does in May. So there's 4 choices there. If you guys can go and put in your vote, we got about a week to get our votes in.
Yeah.
I gotta go look at that.
Yeah. So join us on Fright Club, people, and go and vote. And people are saying Bartle. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Kelly.
Great question.
Oh, thanks for having me and being so flexible about our meeting.
We're pretty
Thank you
chill.
so much, Kelly. It was awesome having you on the show. Thank you.
Thanks. I would love to come back sometime. Just keep me in mind.
Yeah. Next time we do another folk horror, or what's your other favorite genres?
So they kind of go hand in hand, but like I love cult related horror. So
I
don't think I've read
Midsummer
any
sort of thing.
culty books.
Like a Midsummer sort of thing, but a book, not a movie.
I mean, because Midsummer you could technically say is folky horror.
Yeah.
But I think like there are cult type books that are not like religious ritual based, and I feel like the folky ones have more of a ritual aspect to it, or like religious. I don't know if that makes any sense what I'm saying.
No, we'll definitely have you back. It was fun.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, I have to check out the poll. Okay. The nice zombie fun read. I love my zombie books. Some people get bored of the old zombie trend, but there's so many interesting zombie books out there now.
I'd like to see it done a little differently than, the same story.
No, man. What? Is there zombie folk horror? I'm not sure about that.
Zombies getting together, having rituals.
Worship some kind of zombie deity. Right.
You never know. There are a lot of odd things on KU, so maybe it's out there.
I'm sure we could find something.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, we're gonna get going. I hope you both enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Yeah, it's a nice day out there.
Yeah, so we're gonna say goodbye.
Really?
Right, see you guys next time.
This is the awkward part. This is the awkward part because I press end stream. Then I have to press it again.
We just
and then we have to like wait for 5 seconds.